Good afternoon. Whoa. Here we go. Good afternoon. And yes, I'm streaming earlier today, just so that I can get this actually finished and take it a little bit slower as well at the same time. Just joining the Discord. So if anyone is around, I will be in the streaming area. Which is jolly good. Jolly good. Yes. Yes. So checking that it's actually posted. The video announcement. It hasn't. So let's do it manually, shall we? But yes, welcome everybody. I hope we're having a wonderful week. I am streaming early because I am off for the rest of the week somewhere else, so I won't be able to stream on my normal Friday slot. So yes, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is rather impromptu as an earlier stream. Because, yeah, as I said, I'm away soon. So because of that, it's going to have to be a slightly different layout of events today. Super weird how, like, it's just for the contrast, push the saturation up, I think. So it actually looks realistic. Just looking at the video that's on the screen right now. There we go. So yes, welcome, welcome, welcome. So as you can see, we're going to be finishing off this spider tank build today. Very exciting. If you're on YouTube, welcome to the fold. I can now do live on YouTube at the same time since I installed different software. Weirdly can't see a chat easily though, so I do apologise if I miss anything. It is going to be more difficult for me to do both, but I will try my best. Currently they're both up. Also YouTube, I apologise for all of the random like messages. I'm just going to go through and delete them. I was testing that the chat was actually coming through earlier before I started. I don't actually know if the prompts work on YouTube at this point. So if I just test one now that I'm live and see if it does anything. No. Okay, so if you want to use the prompts, you have to use them on Twitch. I've also got stream elements now with automated messages, so you can get reminded of stuff if you're on Twitch, which is fantasticos. Yeah, overall, that's what we're going to be doing. If that gets finished early, I've got a few extra projects that I need to finish off. I've got a Sean Bean pencil holder, which is like Boromir being hit with all the arrows from the last scene in Lord of the Rings, which I'm halfway through painting, I think, maybe quarter. So we can move on to that. I've also got a load of Robo Gear stuff, which is what the legs are from the build that you see on the screen now. So I've got the actual normal kits, and that's all the grey stuff on my shoulder behind me. So that might end up being done later on as well. But I'm going to start off by firstly removing the magic and taking this off and then change into my down cam, which clearly needs to be zoomed in and focused. So today I'm going to be working on this first, and we've got two German World War II soldiers to paint up in the military garb. We're going to have, because these guys have got like a fabric mesh over their helmets. That's going to be in the same color scheme as the tank itself. And then the uniforms are going to be the standard medium drab green. We're going to also give them some skin tones, and for their rifles, we're going to use mud splatter for once, because they had slightly different wood grain on most of their weapons, and heavy metal. And if there is any leather bits showing or straps, we'll use something called strap grey, which is a really dark grey. So that's where we're going to go with that. We've also got the base itself, which I'll now put into shot. So the base itself has been modeled by my fine self. We've got 2 dips either side, which are quite deep. You can't quite see it because it's very glossy at the moment, because I haven't done the finishing, of course. But there's a dip here and there's a dip here, so that the legs of the tank essentially go down. And then there's also a poor British soldier just here who has been pushed backwards in the mud and speared through the center. So when you actually place the model, the kind of locator is that model. So you can place it there, put these 2 in, and essentially what you've got, if you look at it like this, you can see that we've got the indentation on that side, you've got the indentation on that side of the back, but then we've also got the floating leg here, the front one, and the back one. So we're doing like a walking effect the way it's being positioned. And at the moment it's done so that the 12 o'clock directly above the head is where the gun is pointing. So that's how we're going to do it. But yeah, so today we're going to paint the soldiers on here, the soldier on the base, because he needs to be painted up. The mud effect is slightly over him, but that's fine. We can sort that out. And then, actually, we'll probably start with this. We'll do that because then we can wash the whole thing, leave the wash to set, and then we can move on to this whilst the wash dries, and then hopefully we can get to the point where at the end we need to come up with some creative ways to make some blood effects. And I don't have any goo or whatever it's called, but I do have some araldite, so I might try mixing some araldite with this true blood. We'll try and do some like stringy blood effects coming from him. I really want to do like an explosion, but I can't work out how to do it properly, so we're probably going to have to skip that. And as well as the soldiers, also probably a little bit of blending. So the contouring dark texture you can see here that's matte, that is Stern and Battlemire from Citadel, whilst the rest of the base is all done in my homemade mud mixture and then Mod Podge and Rhinox hide. So they're very close in colour, but not quite close enough. So I just want to do a little bit of blending with those as well before I move on to covering the whole thing in a wash and then tying it all together by dry brushing some mud splatter colour. That is the turn of events. I'll just place the tank over there for now. Actually, no, I haven't got the... So there is a spider model from words from RoboGear, which I haven't yet built. So we can maybe try making one of those later, and then we can do like a comparison of how I've used the parts compared to what the kitbashed model ended up like. Yeah, I hope everyone's having a lovely Wednesday, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, whether you're at home or listening or watching at work. We're just going to have a real relaxed stream today. So we're going to start off with this little guy here. So I've actually mixed components together from 2 different periods for this guy because I wanted to make sure he had a gas mask, and I didn't have any World War II helmeted gas masked people. So we've got a World War I helmet gas mask, and then the rest of the body is all from, I think it was a Marine World War II set. I don't think many people would be paying too much attention to the uniform on the base, at least I hope not. But we're going to start off with him. Now, of course, the first thing I've got to do, let's try and reach in, is get out all of the paintbrushes. So I'll zoom out briefly. So I have to prepare the palette. Has anybody, what if anyone in chat's been keeping up with the Konflikt 47 news as well? I've got that up on the screen to go through. Because I think there's been quite a few releases recently. Yeah, it looks like they're starting to do objective markers, and they've just done the America Invasion bundle, which is, I believe, Japanese with one American hero figure. Yeah, Slammer Samuels. And the Japanese models look absolutely amazing. The outfitting they've done and the style is really cool. It's quite town-like. Let me just grab a new wet palette panel. It's amazing. I bought loads of these years ago, and until I started doing videos and streaming, I basically hadn't got through a single set. Now that I'm doing like videos and streaming, I've gotten through almost an entire packet in I think 4 months. Because I'm doing so many different schemes all the time. Wonder if that's actually wet enough, or it probably needs some moisture first. The top tip, if you are using a wet palette like I am, and that's to not use tap water if you can, because tap water has a load of nasties in it which can essentially make mold growth occur. So I buy this deionized water just off Amazon. It's meant for battery top-up fluid and irons. So if you've got somewhere like a motor store like Halfords or something nearby, you can also get it from there, which is a lot easier than ordering from Amazon and hoping for the best. But so far it's been relatively solid. I'm just about to run out of this one. I've also need to order a new bottle of IPA because I use that for like cleaning down miniature stuff, printing, cleaning off sticky stuff around the house in general. And also to create a capillary reaction when soaking bases like this in PVA and water afterwards. So I put it all down with a bit of PVA stuck down, then I'll go over it with some like IPA and water mix. And then afterwards, if I go over it with PVA and water mix, what happens is because the IPA is in there, it like creates a capillary reaction where all of the little nooks and crannies get PVA and water mix in, which is super, super useful. Let's just hold it and hope for the best. So yeah, literally I've placed it down. The other thing that I've got is I've got loads of this plastic card left over. I think this was the Orc project last year. And I just go along it like so to remove all those creases. You don't really want the creases because they can create like flow areas. And if you've got a bit too much, like I do now, you can see it's like pooling on the top. So just grab a bit of kitchen roll and just mop up the excess without pushing down. So if you don't push down, it'll just take all the surface water off. Super simple, super easy to do, very effective. And then, because you know it's just a bit of water on the kitchen roll, you can just lay it next to where you're painting, and you can use it to clean your brush off in between. Talking of which, I don't actually have a brush cleaning water right now, do I? I've forgotten to do that. Hopefully that'll be alright. I'm always worried that there's a bit too much water on the surface. Hey, that's not what we want, is it, people? My peeps. If you have too much on the top, what happens is you put the paint on palette and it'll just spider out, essentially going where you don't want it to. There we go. Lovely. Now I've got a nice little bit of kitchen roll down the bottom here, which I clean my brushes on because it's got a bit of water on. So I'm just going to grab a fresh load of this nasty water. This was yesterday doing the paint effect. Because what I essentially did was around the body, which is the reason he's brown, is I overloaded like larger lumps of it, and then I got a wet paintbrush and just watered it down to push it in between his legs and his arms and stuff. Because otherwise, the Sterling Battlemire is just so thick, it's very hard to get down there easily. And that way, the brown that's actually on him, it's actually just a very thin layer of the pigment and water. There isn't actually any like grains on the legs where there might have been otherwise. Because the water kind of like pushes it off. Just let gravity do its thing. So I'll just be back in a sec. I'm just going to grab some fresh water. If anyone's about, drop a message in chat. Let me know you're there. Let me know what you'll be working on if you're doing some fun model making stuff. Rub. I'm back in the room, and I realised that the audio was muted. Great. Anyway, so yeah, I'll start off where I was. So we're going down. Going down to the Isle of Thanet at the end of the week, which is if you keep driving to the White Cliffs of Dover in the UK, and then you keep going. Yes, you can keep going along that road. You come to a place called the Isle of Thanet, and the Isle of Thanet was made famous in the Second World War for being the place that Spitfires landed and took off, basically, for things like the Battle of Britain. And there's a Spitfire and Hurricane Museum down there, which has got both Spitfire and Hurricane. It's really annoying. I have to do like two hands, and the amount of paint that comes out of it automatically is so much. So, yeah, the plan is to go down there because it's my wife's grandfather's funeral, and that's where he lived. And unfortunately, it means that I won't be around on Friday to do my normal stream. And that's because, funnily enough, it's a long drive. So we are packing today. That's why I'm doing this so much earlier. We packed rather quickly, I was surprised. So we packed, and then I was like, oh, should I just start streaming? And my wife was like, yeah, go for it. So here we are. There's a little finger popping out there. So we're going to head down tomorrow morning as soon as we wake up. So about, say, 8 o'clock in the morning. So I didn't want to have to pack and rush in the morning. So I came home early. I'll do the stream now. I'm probably going to run till 2 in the morning still. There might be a small break in the middle, but overall, you'll probably see the same length. And whilst doing it, I figured, well, I can finish off this Tiger Tank monstrosity, and also we've got an entire box set of Robo gear, which is made by FX. And that brings us back to the Isle of Thanet. So while we're down there, I'm hoping to be able to go and visit a place called Wonderworks, which is the original birthplace of Hornby and maybe Airfix. I can't remember if Airfix was bought out by them or not, but we're going to be going down there. And essentially, I always run straight to the discount section in the store because that's where I got those stairs from the video that I did earlier in the year, where I did the 2-foot terrain tile. Let's make sure that's to be able to make the stairs that go up to the square. So it's 2 foot. You can see it's a 2-foot terrain tile, which is and then thick MDF, like my normal ones that are behind me. But it's a 2-foot one instead of a 1 foot. And what happens is essentially you can place a 1 foot in the middle up. There's like stairs and 3 ways, and there's a 1 foot about inch and a half up where you can place a terrain tile on, so you can essentially change the centerpiece of your board. And also there's an insert, so if you don't have a terrain piece in, there is like a structure inside which you can turn upside down, and then you can put in a trench, and it's actually a deep piece of terrain, so you can use it as like a ruin, a trench, or a large monument like a statue or something. And I picked up these stairs from the Wonderworks last time I was there, and they're down priced to a £5 each. So it was a very cheap bit of terrain to get for a video, which is good because normally I think they were £25 or so when they were actually available new. They've discontinued them, which is why they're in the discount section. Yeah, that's something to look forward to on what is otherwise a very, very somber trip down to the Isle of Thanet. Normally we do other stuff, so I don't know what we'll do, but there's also like a massive Primark there and a big Tesco's, a good clothes shop. So we might be able to do a little bit of shopping while we're down there, in between everything else. But yeah, not the happiest of times, shall we say. But we'll try and do something, you know, that's a bit positive while we're down there. So now I'm just moving on to the gun, and for the Brit on the floor, just so that his gun stands out a bit, I'll be using Rifle Brown. Hi, 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 hi. There you go, I hope you kept up there. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a lovely Wednesday. But yeah, hopefully, even though we're driving all the way there for a funeral, we can do something positive and, you know, visit something that's more positive. I mean, it's positive because, like, my wife's nan's still there. But, you know, it's going to be quite a somber occasion, and we're getting down there, like, a day before, and we're leaving a day later. So, yeah. Yay! Yes, I kept up. I kept up, see? No gachapon machine yet. Unfortunately, I managed to accidentally order the wrong colour filament, which turned up yesterday, which I'm trying to return and get a refund for. So there's another order that I'm waiting to turn up now. But the last bits are in white. But it is coming together. I don't know if you've seen my Instagram feed, but it is coming together. The base section's working, the mechanism's working, where the balls fall work, but the framework for where the panels go in needs printing, as does the lid. So not quite there yet. And also the gachapon balls haven't turned up yet. But they are on their way. I got a dispatch notification. So yeah. And we've also got, just out of shot, there's a big box of Space Marine blind box heroes over there. So there will be balls inside with just like the Warhammer logo inside the ball, which means pick out a blind box. So a little bit of progress. There you go. Not too terrible. I'll also put in, I think, yeah, it's the webbing colour, so I'll just do the webbing in the same colour as the straps on the gas mask. How are you today, Faye Hermit? Up to much? I saw a notification on the 2E digital art, so I'd assume you're the one that's posted in there in the last few days. There we go. That guy is base coated. So now I'm gonna use the colour I forgot to get out, which is Gilliman Flash. Nice bit of contrast paint. I'm not gonna lie, anything natural textured, I just use contrast paint now. It's so much easier. And especially when you have one of these things, where you just push it up, and then you can peel the old paint out. Very satisfying. I actually feel like I should probably paint the inside of one of all those cups and then peel it out at some point so that it's properly clean. They're getting a bit messy. Although you might be able to dishwasher it or something. Who knows? Very possible. Very possible. So yeah, I don't know how much of that you caught, Faye Helmet, but I'm streaming early this week because I have to go to a funeral on Friday, and it's far enough away that we are leaving Thursday to get down there. So I will, of course, be out of office, shall we say. So, and then I went home early today from work so that I could pack for the journey. And that took way less time than I thought. So here we are, streaming early, but still probably going till 2 in the morning. Just maybe with a small break in the middle to have some dinner. Because there is plenty of to do and not very much time to do it, because I'm very overdue with filming all of this and getting it out as a YouTube video. The tiniest, and I mean tiniest, amount of that colour was needed. That was it. What a waste. Look at that. One finger and one hand. Now, I need to get it all blended in, essentially. So for that, I'm going to get my slightly less tiny brush, because you can tell that there's like two different paints there and there. And what I have for this is a special bowl made from discounted paint found on eBay many years ago. Is this mahoosive bowl that I made up of rhinox hide. So yeah, we're going to use that to essentially semi-wet blend. It's made, it's going to be splodge, 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 add a bit of water and hope for the best. As all good things are, of course. So we're going to use some rhinox hide now, just to blend in all these areas on the mud. I'm assuming we might need quite a lot of this. Well, it's lucky I got a big bottle of it, really, isn't it? And then I'm going to pull out this brush, which this is the one that I used for actually putting down all the texture and stuff, so it's really, really buggered. But that's perfect for what we need to do here. Because it doesn't really matter, you know? As long as you know, as long as it all actually works and looks like the same colour, mostly, should be fine. Just counterweighting the base of my camera using like a battery and some random shite. Oh, excuse me, people. Excuse me. So yeah, the plan is I'm going to use this rhinox hide, and then on the palette, I'll just mix it with some water like this, make it super, super thin, and then just go and splodge it all over. And then when it gets to the closer, I start to fade out, and then I'll go back in with some water, basically. And try to kind of just blend it lightly. It still won't look exactly the same because, of course, mixing the Mod Podge into the rhinox hide itself will always make it a slightly different colour and shade. That'll be a lot closer than if I just used that Sterling Battlemire, which is what the texture paste is that up close to the model. Yeah, that's blending nicely. It just needs a little bit, you know. Not a big job, just a little one. Yeah, I'm doing this, and then once this is all finished, I've got the Robo Gear stuff, which is behind me partly, but I've done 4 of them. I've got to finish building those, so yeah, I don't know how many it is. I think there's another like 7 or 8 things plus terrain. So there's a few things to get going with today. It's not going to be a case of I finish it early. Well, I do finish early, but early in the morning, not in today's day. Concentration phase. Just making sure while I'm doing it, there's nowhere that I've just missed a bit with the undercoat. It does happen. Look at how buggered this brush is. It's quite incredible, really, isn't it? That it's still being used. Sometimes you just need a really, really buggered brush. There we go. There's a little bit over here of the cork. Lovely. That blends in. There's still a little bit around him that's less blended, but once the dark tone washes on, it won't be noticeable anyway. Oi oi, it's odd watching you live whilst I sit at my desk in the office. Well, you know, sucks to suck. But yeah, we're finished packing earlier than expected, so I figured, sod it. I'll start doing. So that's for anyone on Twitch, the YouTube comments as well. Yeah, there we go. So we've got this guy now blended into the base in essentially very rough base coats. But it's a base, you know. It's not something that needs to be incredibly detailed. What I will do, however, is seeing that we've got a massive gash in his chest from where this spider walker has essentially impaled him, I will add the blood on the inside of the cavity that he's got for a chest. And then when I put in the leg, I'll then do more around the leg as well. Try and improve the lighting on both cameras. There we go. Why the hell not? Well, why not? That's all I'm saying. Yeah, we're true blooding now. This is like a slightly more vibrant than Blood for the Blood God by Green Suffer called True Blood, which I use normally when I want to make stuff look a little bit more comic book, shall we say. And I don't put it on the wet palette, because if you do, it soaks through the palette paper itself. It does make a really nice, vibrant, red, bloody effect. There we go. He has a cavity now for a chest, which is fantastic. So that's the base basically frozen in time now. Because all the base coats now need to dry. Until they are dry, I'll have to be working on the other piece, which of course is the tank. So I have to zoom out for this one. My Panzer, yeah. So this is the Walker Tiger tank. And just like the other model, we have historical books sitting next to me ready to be used. So, for anyone that is joined since, we were using these from Osprey Publishing before to base the British soldier on. So this is the British Army, 1939 to 45, issue 1. So that's the one I use for that, and I'm going to use the same book that I used for the Nazi zombies the other week. And we're going to be using the same color palette for the uniform, which is this greenish tone. But I'm going to mix it up a bit because... yeah, there it is. Let me just focus. So these guys have got this like mesh effect, so I'm going to do that in the camo pattern. And then we're going to do the uniform in normal colors with the strap gray colored webbing. Of course, there's no legs, but there is a rifle. And for the rifle, I'm actually going to be using the color called Mud Splatter. Whilst normally, and on the base, I use Rifle Brown. So Rifle Brown tends to be used for the British colour scheme. And then Mud Splatter is a lot closer to the wood grain in all the German army's equipment. So we're going to use that. Trying to keep it relatively historically accurate. You know, within the extent of spider legs on a freaking tank. So, yeah. But we're going to do the base coats on those. I also had a chat to a friend, and I think after that, I need to put a bit more weathering on the tank. So it looks, you know, a little bit less crap, shall we say. And I think the way to do that is to just slowly sponge on black, greys, and maybe a bit of silver. Try not to cover up all the rust spotting effects that I've done. Because at the moment it looks a little bit too comic book with the way that all of those are painted out. Plus, I've noticed there's a few like fingerprints that I've left. And I don't want anyone to, you know, be able to identify me by my model in later life, so here we are. So let's get back in focus, and I will start off by putting the palette back, of course. And we're going to start with, the deepest colour is probably the jacket. So let's do medium drabs. This is a Warpaint Fanatic historical colour, which is actually, if you buy the World War II German uniform set, it comes in that. I bought the singles for the ones that I use though, because there's a lot of doubles in those sets. So we've got this medium drab, and then the strapping over the top, we're going to use strap grey, funnily enough. Great naming convention there. And then for the helmet, the colours that I used for the tank were these three. So we've got Army Green, Bugman's Glow, and Xandri Dust. So I'm going to try my best to imitate the camo pattern on a very small scale on the head. Wish me luck, might fail. But how is everybody's day going? Is work going okay? And Faye Helmet, are you up to much? Are you watching telly? Are you doing some work? What are you up to? Tell me in the chat. Just got to set up the non-stream camera. Make sure it's all in focus. Lovely. Yeah, just gonna start off with this colour. Not use a massive amount of it, probably. Unfortunately, these bottles, the droppers always seem to push out a bit too much. There we go. Just when shaking them, they do that. It's very strange. Yes, the plan is we'll bring this forward. And I'll refocus again. Focus. And I'll try and keep it. There you go. Yeah, I'll try and keep it around the same height at all times. Mainly for the benefit of the other camera. Yeah, so the plan is, once this is done, we've got all of the rest of the Robo Gear set, which is what the Spider Legs came from to make, as the original set intended. I say it's the original set intended to make. I actually bought a second set of Robo Gear for 25 quid. So I've got one set for kit bashing, and I've got one set to turn into the game and actually have a go at it at some point. So that be the plan. Whether it comes to fruition, I actually get a chance to play it, maybe not. But I'll give it my darndest to try. So these miniatures, there's actually some different uniforms that they're wearing, but I'm going to kind of partially ignore that just to try and keep it as a simple paint job. Because I have a funny feeling this one at the front, oh, maybe not. This one at the front is actually probably wearing the jacket with the arms, which means that he is in full camo. Full camo, people. That is a no-go for me. That is a CBA. Very much CBA. I say that now, it's going to wear at me if I don't do it, so I'll probably end up doing it even though I don't want to. I did consider, should I be doing this in assembly, and I was like, maybe we. No, I'm wishing I just kept them off of the tank and painted them and then stuck them on afterwards, but, you know. Can't change the past. Great Scott. Great Scott. I've actually also spotted... well, firstly, I bought another set of the zombies before the magazine was out of stock in all the shops. Because it was literally going to be 10 quid cheaper to do that than buy a box of them. So I've got those still to paint. In fact, I've still got all of the Americans to paint full stop because I've only painted the German zombies so far. Because I was waiting for my colour scheme source books. I know, how nerdy can I get in one stream? Yeah, I was waiting for my colour scheme source books. Oh, because I have to make sure they're the right colour. So that's now turned up, which is great. So I can hopefully now begin the American scheme. Because I'm a strong believer in not believing the source material on the internet, only from the historical books, because, you never know, what if, especially nowadays with AI imagery, someone could have asked to generate the World War II image. Slash, most of them aren't in colour, because, you know what, they didn't have colour photography, so everything's recolored, or recolored by AI now. So it's difficult to find source material, should we say, without just buying books still. If my wife was on the stream, she'd be able to tell us about all of the differences between primary and secondary historical sources. Thankfully, she's not. If she's listening, I'm in so much trouble for that one. Actually, all the books did turn up. They turned up today, but they turned up and they were in an oversized box. Bearing in mind, this is £100 worth of books on discount. If they weren't discounted, it was 180 for all the books that I bought this month. Because, you know, splurging on the printed media in the modern age is clearly the best thing to do. But they turned up in this oversized box today. I was like, oh, that's a big box. I hope there's packaging. Guy hands it over to me, and they all rattle around inside. I'm like, ah, shit. So most of them have rips, they're dented, they're deformed. So I've sent a complaint in. So if you ever buy from Osprey Publishing, they will send through a company called Hatchet. Hatchet, literally, I feel like they throw their books through a hatchet and they're attacked. Because the same happened when I was subscribed to the Warhammer Partworks magazine back in day. It was absolutely diabolical. And that is the reason that I ended up cancelling before the subscription finished. They kept sending me, like, I had doubles of the same magazine sent in one parcel, which, yeah, that's alright. But then I had the same previous issue sent, not the latest issue on the subscription. And it was just a host of issues one after the other, to the point where it just wasn't worth my time anymore. And the same's happened buying from Osprey, because they're using Hatchet as well. Which isn't great. Not gonna lie, it just isn't great. So yeah, I've ordered 8 lots of books over the duration of a year, and 2 lots of those I didn't have to complain. Now that is not a good statistic, really, is it? You'd expect for a print-on-demand book for them all to be printed correctly and shipped nicely. I've had them where the spines are printed on the front cover instead of on the sides. I've had them where the inside pages are 45 degrees on the page. Heck, I've even had it where they were a completely wrong book that was printed on demand. And they had to then send me replacements. And every single time they send some, they don't ask for the old ones back. Which is good for Amy's classroom, because I give the second, essentially, to her to take in and use for the students. But it's not great for business practices, and recently they have had to sell a segment of their store, I would assume, because they weren't making enough money. And I'm not surprised. If they're sending through Hatchet, they're probably losing loads of money. I've got a heat warning on my camera next to me right now, which is amazing, seeing that it's only been on for, what, maybe an hour? Yeah, 1 hour to 11. Ah. Yeah, Hatchet. Awful, awful distribution and printing services by the looks of it. Which is a shame, because I really value the books that they produce. These are some pretty heavy beats on right now. Damn. Tell you one thing I'm worried about these miniatures, and that is that I haven't actually primed them. I'm going straight onto the plastic of the acrylics. So I do wonder how hardy they're going to be. I'm going to have to cover them in some varnish afterwards, just to make sure that they hold their colours. Lovely. Hands and faces. Completed it, mate. Turn that off for a few minutes. Let's have a brief break from painting. I'm just going to hop into the Discord. And yeah, we do have some whips that we can share. If anyone has, in fact, what I'll say is we'll do some work in progress shares later. If anyone in the YouTube or the Twitch chat has things that you'd like to share, with everyone. If you go on Twitch and go !social, it should come up with a hyperlink as a whisper to you, so that you can join the Discord server and put in photos of what you've been working on for the last few weeks. Feel free to throw it in there, and later on we'll do a checkup of that. But firstly, I think the thing that we're going to do is it'll be quite nice to maybe go through some releases that have been happening in the last few weeks, because I haven't really kept up to date with it all. So I'm just going to quickly pop the stream in the top browser for me, and then that means I can then... Firstly, we're going to start off with... Swear there's... Yes. So I'm going to go on to screen share. Hopefully that all works. Yes, it does. Look at that. So welcome to screen share mode, everybody. So firstly, let's have a look at what's new in the world of Konflikt 47. So they've done an article recently saying getting the most of Konflikt 47 starter armies. So there's a load of boxes that they currently do, which we'll go through later on their website. But they've done this thing, so there's now the German starter box. Interestingly, with some of the original graphics, not the new graphics, on whatever this is. I'd assume it's just a small booklet. They're also popping in all of the bolt action markers, which you can see down the bottom here. But this is quite a nice mixture. This is the Totem Corpse at the front that we painted last time. It looks like they've solely maybe given just the German sprue with all those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's 8 of those. And then this is infantry squad. So you got some infantry rifles, infantry LMGs, all the standard bolt action miniatures, and then behind we've got a couple of rather familiar styled tanks. So the back on the left we've got a quadrupod, which I believe is the... Is that stated? There it is, the Panzer 4X. So it's got a search... I can't say German words. I won't say it because that would be offensive. And then it's also got a spinner, which is this guy at the back. So interestingly, it's a mixture on their official releases of tracked tanks and Mortar tanks. So you can actually run a normal Tiger in the game. So I'm going to run this as a normal Tiger, the one that we're painting today, because, you know, why not? I just looks cooler with tank with friggin' spider legs on it. Why not? The British starter set. So this weirdly is one that I'm kind of manufacturing myself out of bits, because I'm doing the German set and the British set at the same time, so that I can have two armies and maybe ask friends to come and play. But it includes the Walker, which is unusual because this is actually originated from the American side set. So I think I might make my own Walker that looks a bit closer to the automated infantry, because I feel like it doesn't look boxy enough. And you've also got a very similar looking turret on this. I believe this is the, yeah, it's the Cromwell. Is it Cromwell? It must be the Cromwell. So I've actually got one of these tanks without the turret in the cupboard behind me ready. And then I'll probably put together another turret out of spare parts. And then these guys, I think I've also got these from one of the many sets that I've got as well. So, and I've got way more automated infantry than they have on this page. I bought every single box that they released recently. So we're partway through, and we've made literally all the ones on the screen right now for those automateds. Now, these are interesting things, because these are the things that I haven't really looked at. The Soviets, this thing was freaking sweet. Whatever this new thing is. So a Cossack Light Walker. I prefer that to the American one. That looks way cooler. And this thing, what is going on with that? that is a T-34 ZP. Whatever the ZP stands for, that's the turret. Damn. And of course, once again, it's just loads of bolt action stuff, and they've got their unique unit at the front. So those are veteran heavy infantry. Okay. So they're basically similar to the, is it Totem Core? No, Stoten Core, or whatever it is. The steel boys. Then once again, the same walker, so they're going a bit cheap here. Come on. Come on, Konflikt 47. Please give us a good British walker. But yeah, we've got the standard bolt action guys in the middle. There's this, which is the Sherman. That's it. Word, Sherman. Different back to the turret as well as front on this one, which is interesting. It's not a traditional Sherman turret back. The walker that we've seen already, and then we've got these heavy infantry. So I've actually made some British versions of these for another video, which are kitbashed. So they also have a similar version in the British Army version. Now this is the really cool stuff. So the Japanese, the walker is my favorite walker I've ever seen. It's not actually the best picture, but we'll look at some on the website in a minute. And so these are Scorpion styled walkers, and they are super beautiful models. So this is called the Sasori Light Walker. I'd assume that says the word Scorpion, to be honest. And then we've got the Type 97, which was, of course, famous in the Second World War, but with a different turret on it, of course, because sci-fi. Once again, they've got the standard stuff here, so all the bolt action stuff in the middle. And they've supplied, I think these must be the resin, yes, veteran battle exoskeleton section. So these are the kind of like the original special forces for the Konflikt 47 kits. So that's we're going through that. Should we pop over to the Wall of Games? Because talking of the cool Japanese stuff, there's way cooler stuff they've released now. Look at this. So these guys are like, I want to say like Tao-esque, but with some samurai influence on their armor, which is really cool. And then we've actually got some proper samurai in the middle, which have like stealth abilities. I think, so from my understanding, the Japanese in this game have the ability to pop up anywhere and disappear anywhere on the battlefield, making a lot of surprise attacks. And they're currently going through, if Japan decide to invade America, hence the book called The Rift War Volume 2, Invasion America. Yeah, those new sculpts are really nice. And it comes with this new Samuel's miniature as well for the American side. So the Kimura Tadiki Scourge of the Sprint Realm. So these are like stealthy boys. Then you got the big set without the book. So if you want the book, it's going to cost you an extra fair few. You're getting the book, you're getting that, that, and that. This walker looks cool. Which one's this for? This is also a new release. I love it when they... Oh, it's hidden. Is that it? So it's a Soviet. Is that what we're being told here? DM40 Mollet. I'd assume that is... with the probe of the United States and British Commonwealth two-legged percentages of science cities set out to replicate their success of their own by penal design. So once again, it doesn't really say, but there we go. It's Russia. It's Russian. Made in Russia. That's quite nice. This guy is quite funny because I've just used one of these in a YouTube video, turning it into the hippogriff from the new Warhammer 40k. And all they've done is change the turret, and that is exactly what I did for the Hippogriff. But this one's got a larger markup, so 38 quid for basically the turret assembly. Once again, that is definitely kit bashable. Does come with all these, which I may or may not be printing my own of at some point for my kits. I mean, it is a nice model, don't get me wrong, but 38 quid, you can pick up the standard Hummer for 12 when they've got a sprue sale on. Loads of ejected markers now. I wish I'd seen these on payday, because I want more crates. There's the crates. So the ejected marker set, Germany, Soviet Union, United States, Great Britain. So if we get the British one. So does this include... Doesn't say, but it says British infantry plastic sprue. I wonder if it's the crates and the sprue, or if it's just this sprue. Because it might be for me, because I've got so many spare bits, to just get a set of these crates and then turn them into those. Oh yeah, this is cool. And I downloaded the files, so I'll definitely be printing it at some point. But there is this gigantic Sturmreise STL that they've included for free. And it is freaking cool. It's done so that you can put a Tesla coil, not Tesla coil, well, what's it called? Plasma ball in the middle. Totally doing this. It is really nice. Look at all the detail they've got on it as well. For a model that is free to download and use. And it is, I don't know, it looks like 1.5 to 2 foot large. It's very, very cool. Oh, there's actually a sale on some of these items. These must be old enough. But these are definitely Soviets. So these are the, basically, is it bears or werewolves? I think it's werewolves. Maybe. Or maybe bears. It might be bears. Bears, I like them bears. But they come with all of these cool weapon attachments. They're very nice sculpts. You could easily use them in other games as well, because they look relatively scaveny. You could just like change the teeth on them and maybe give them some slightly bigger ears. If you wanted some, you know, alternative sculpts. And then this brings us to the stuff that I basically looked at last time I was on stream, because I have bought basically all of these. I bought the platoon, that one, that one, that one. I didn't buy the director because that's included in the platoon. I actually probably overbought because I bought the platoon instead of buying them separately, but yeah, no. I like myself some robots. And then we got all the stuff that we already looked at. Oh, should we quickly look at the... Let's find the listing specifically for the Scorpion, which we were talking about earlier. Because the Scorpion is a super sweet sculpt. And if you haven't seen it, you are doing yourself an injustice. Look at this thing. That is some beautiful sculpting. And the fact that they've included the plates from the samurai armor on the legs, they've gone with something which is a very unique design. And then they've also implemented loads of other things. Like they've got all of these like large joints, so you can see which pieces should move if it was like a real thing. Absolutely stunning. Anyway, let's get back to the painting itself, shall we, for a bit. I think the thing we need to wait for is now dry. So, posy vibes, of course. Always posy vibes around here. And hopefully the camera has cooled down enough for me to get going. But yeah, so, let's get back to this. I think, so we've got the base coats left for probably the gun next, because I might accidentally splodge it onto the face, so let's go with that. Happy evening, everyone in the UK, by the way. It's just hit 5:12, so it's 5 o'clock somewhere, it's 5 o'clock here. You can officially get your beers out and relax. Unless you're still at work, then I apologise. Just go in earlier. Try and find a job to actually go in earlier. It's way better. Better for your mental health, get to see daylight. It's amazing. That's what I've done for, must be 5 years, maybe. Maybe 5 years, maybe longer. In fairness, I had training, though, before. Unofficially, like, training. I was on shifts. So I got very used to getting up at Sparrow Fart, as my mum always called it. And getting out the door quickly. So I now get up at 6:15, out the door by 6:45-ish. Ish is needed, by the way. It is a metric. We do use that. It's official for shores. Try and get in for 7:30 start. You get in the winter, you get to see daylight, which is just unheard of normally. Trying to actually work out on here which pieces are meant to be metal, which are meant to be wood. Because it's quite a different gun to what I'm used to. I'm very much used to like a Napoleonic style gun or a sci-fi style gun, so just trying to get it right. First time is challenging, shall we say, challenging. Yeah, I hope everyone's having a lovely week. Happy Wednesday. Midweek, hump week. Middle of the week. It's only up from here, people. It's only up from here. Let's be honest. And hopefully, if anyone's got things that they need to get out of the way at work that's like a bit of a panic, hump week is only the day that happens. Definitely never a Friday, is it? Never a Friday. Nah. We don't do that. We're professionals. Promise? Oh. My shoulder is killing me today. Just checking I haven't missed anything now that the camera's off. I think that's okay. It's always hard to tell, you know, when you're painting something for the first time and you haven't really looked at it for very long beforehand. Whoops. I'm sure it'll be fine. Now that that's done, straight away, because we used it earlier, there's already a bit of, is it called dark metal? Heavy metal, that was it. It's from the John Blanche set on the Army Painters website. You can also buy it separately, which is of course where I got it from, because I don't do sets. There's too many doubles in sets. If you've just got one, if you've got the starter set, that's all you need, then you just buy one, the singles from them. It's very, very fiddly to make sure it's all correct. But I will manage it. I am determined. Determined. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. And the other thing I also do is, I think... Yeah, the strapping. So the strapping, I'm going to use... This is for my benefit later on. Our rifle brown. And I'm going to use that on the strap, just so it stands out a bit from the actual wood grain. I say wood grain. From the other brown that I use. I am not painting the wood grain on it. That can F all the way off. My life, it is too short for that. Almost cocked that up majorly. Lovely. There's a little bit that needs repairing. I say repairing. A little bit needs repainting. Just here. My thing of nightmares, people. Look at this thing. Yeah, make sure if you're not in the Discord chat, if you're on Twitch, go !affiliate. Or if on YouTube, I think I can post a link in there. We'll find out the hard way, people. Or feel free to post your work in progresses. I'd love to see them and see what everyone's been working on this week. Just going to do a little bit of repairing the paintwork on the hands. Make sure it's a nice, good coat of this colour. A nice, good coat. English language, clearly not my forte, people. Clearly not. Look at that. Look at that, peeps. Look at the detail on that. Okay, so now we're going to do the base coat for this helmet. So the palest colour is probably the one to use. And although it's very similar, I'm not going to use like Battle Dress, which we've already got on the palette. I'm actually going to use something which is from the Citadel range, which is called Xandri Dust. Now, I find that this is very close. It's got that slight orange tinge to it than the light battle dress, which is why I used it on the tank's camo pattern in the first place. So I'm going to, I promise I'm going to firstly place it on that, get it in focus over here, and then I'm going to put it onto the palette. Just a small amount. Well, minimum amount that the bottle would allow for. And then it's a case of basically painting the helmets. Firstly, I'm going to paint them all over. Nice and easy. No need to worry about detail yet. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'm just saying I'm not going to use it. I just accidentally went into it. I'm going to use this colour here. I'm just going to paint the entire helmet on it first as a base coat. And then I'm going to slowly go over it with the other two colours to generate a camo pattern. The other thing is, we're going away, so what normally happens is I always take a load of magazines, and I'm quite far behind on Wargames Illustrated, which, look, even if you're not into historical, Wargames Illustrated is brilliant. It's always got the latest releases on other sci-fis and stuff, which aren't Warhammer. And I'm not sponsored by them, but it's just a good product. It is a good news outlet of the latest releases, new game systems from all of those indie companies. And I think they do a very good job at like fair journalism. They won't boast about something which is crap. It's always got to have something unique, something worth looking at for a reason, you know? So yeah, Wargames Illustrated, freaking awesome. Love that magazine. But I am a couple of issues behind right now because I've been so busy painting for the YouTubes and of course on Twitch for you lovely people that I've just, you know, just not had a chance. So when we go away this weekend, I'm taking those and hopefully the last issue of War Games magazine, which I've been trying to cancel for quite a while now, and not responding yet. Hopefully they will. I don't really want to pay for the year subscription because I was on a monthly or a yearly rollover. Right, I'll say that's enough for camera over here. Then I can actually hold it and try and paint. I also need to, of course, paint the hair, which I can clearly see is there when I pick it up. Yeah, Wargames Illustrated is absolutely brilliant. It's where I found out about Konflikt 47 because they had a free sprue on the front. Like, and we're not talking about the recent one, we're talking about one, like, I think back in January. It was a long time ago. There we go. So, that is the base coats for the helmets. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to try and work out... Actually, whilst that's drying, I can flip-flop. Oh, flippy-floppy. There we go. So we've got a bit of a chance now to go back to the base for this divine beast. And if you haven't seen it earlier, because you weren't here, this is the base that I've made for it. In fact, let's get the model and hopefully stick it on like that to show you. So there's actually a guy, poor guy at the front that's been impaled by this tank, and then I've done some recesses on the sides where the legs are sticking into the floor. There's actually also a couple, there's a lighter one there, and then there's a lighter one over here where he's just lifted up. Oh, I just got some of the paint off. Whoa, no. Redo that. Redo that. There you go. That's the problem with demoing before it's finished. Yeah, there's a couple of indentation marks where he's clearly just lifted up over here and here. So hopefully the wash, which we're going to use, is going to bring all those out nicely so that it's really obvious. And also bring out some details on this poor bystander who has been impaled by the spider leg. And I'm not going to do anything complex for this. You know me. You know what I like. And what I like is a bit dark tone. So we're just going to get the dark tone wash here. And possibly a new one, because this feels quite empty. And we're just going to cover the entire miniature base in dark tone. Super duper easy. And before people go, oh, you could just paint the shadows. I was like, really? On mud. And on top of that, not only it's mud, it's a base. And I use dark tone, as I say in all my videos, it's more of a weathering effect than of lighting. Lighting I do freehand afterwards anyway. The dark tone is to make stuff look dirty and grimy. And when I then use the highlight color, I just don't paint on certain areas. So not as much of a waste as if you do want to use it like your secondary. So let's just get that into these wells, and I mean into these wells. We are going to use a lot of it, so as long as the ball bearing doesn't get stuck. Let's fill the entire well to the top. And get a paintbrush. And then start. Well, we'll fake start first because, you know, video. There we go. Now I can real start. So yeah, I'm just going to cover the entire model in this. This is very interesting because it's actually imitating the technique from my very first diorama I ever made for a friend, where I made a large round circular base. I covered it in fake mud. I made like a pumpkin patch, a little farm gate, and then I 3D printed a load of ghosts from Ghostbusters. And then I got, at the time I'd just gotten rid of a Morris Traveller, which for anyone not familiar with British classic cars, is basically, it's an old estate car with wood on the side. It's the wooden version of a Morris Minor. And that car was used in its ownership of me as a Ghostbusters car on the weekends and a daily driver in between. So I had all of these like magnetic Ghostbusters decals that I could put on. I'd go along, raise money for Parkinson's UK in the weekends, and then in the week I'd take all the magnetic stuff off from the roof rack and use it to drive into work. So I found, back to the miniature story, I found a miniature version of a Morris Traveller, and I duplicated all of the roof rack that I had made for it. No, I think I overdid it on this dark tone for once. Damn. So I made a miniature version of basically that car and made that on the base, and then I 3D printed myself and my friend that I was making it for in their Ghostbusters uniform. And it's used sometimes as a display at Bristol Ghostbusters events in public. That's just like a display piece. My mate Rich has also got a Marshmallow Man of the right scale and all that sort of stuff. So he normally brings along his 28mm collection of Ghostbusters stuff. As you can tell, I'm not going up to the edge right now on this. Just so it's a bit easier for me to pick it up. And as you can see, I'm not really being too sparing with this. Because let's be honest, as I said earlier, I use dark tone as, you know, I don't use it as a shadow technique, I use it as a weathering technique. And this is all dirty, disgusting mud, so it's going to need weathering. So I'm just going to cover the entire thing. Personal, because at the end of the day, what I'll do is I'll do some very quick highlights on him. On the guy that's being impaled on this base. But, to be honest with you, he's probably going to be covered up when I do the dry brushing and the blood effects anyway, so... doesn't matter. How is everyone's weeks going? If you're still at work, let me know what you're up to. You having an okay day? Looking forward to getting home, having a drink? I don't know if that's coming through for you as well, but I'm getting WhatsApps like a crazy mofo. Let me try and turn that off as a noise, because that is annoying. I'll call it system. I'll add WhatsApp and I'll mute it. There we go. Yeah, I hope everyone's having an okay day. Nice Wednesday. It's hump day, everyone. Come on. Come on. We're halfway to the weekend. I mean, I'm not working because, you know, shit stuff like funerals to go to. But if you are, let me know in the comments. Hope you've had a good day. And hopefully just like a little bit of artistry is a nice change of scenery. I say artistry. Me slapping on some dark tone. Yes, artistry. See the artistry in action. Oh yes. Snap, snap, snap. Put that dark tone on. Nice, nice, nice. Luckily this base is so freaking massive. I can just put my hands underneath and hopefully it'll cling to me. Without actually having to touch the rim whilst I'm painting it. Just the rim. I think when I have the next paint break, what we'll do is we'll look at the Warhammer releases on the website, because I am so out of date on that stuff as well. I got no clue what's going on in the world of wargaming with Warhammer. I got a better idea of Konflikt 47, to be honest with you. Because it's cooler. Just saying. You know. I actually prefer the aesthetic of Konflikt 47 to Warhammer. Well, Warhammer 40k. Horus Heresy. Love the aesthetic. Hate the fact that loads of the nice models are in resin, so haven't touched it. I ain't going near resin. Not if I can help it. Might 3D print the odd thing, but I'm not gonna do that. Oh. Right. That's clearly drying. You know, that is a very wet base now. Careful now. Oh, matron. But this is not yet at the point where I've had to wash the miniatures that are inside the tank. So let's reach that point next. So we need to do the second colour on the helmet. And for that, I'm going... Actually, before I do that, I'll show you all a trick. So let's just wipe the nozzle of this. Get rid of all the spidering gunk. So, this. Empty bottle almost. Loads left in here. Oh no, I've wasted stuff. Well, as long as it's all at the bottom, you can squeeze it to your heart's content like that. So it's basically caved. And then turn it upside down. Nothing will come out. Chuck it to the bottom. Suck it up, and look at that. Most of it's back in the bottle. There's a little bit left in there, but nowhere near as much waste as there would have been. Tip of the day. That's that. Anyway, now back to our onions, in the words of late Gary Rhodes. Let's get the wet palette back forwards. I say wet palette, it's drying up so quickly today. It's probably get so hot. It's so toasty still. even though it's rained, it's very humid and wet now in the UK, so not ideal at all. Pop that on the palette so I can focus. It's focused. So we're going to use army green now, so actually a different shade of green. I hope someone was watching to see that. Chat, what did I just do? Oh, no. Well, that ain't going back in the bottle because this is almost full. But, you know, I can do the whack 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 sound effect at least on the video. Not all bad. Bit of comedy. Let's get the tiny number 0 brush. So these brushes, once again I'll say, these are from Golden Maple. They are absolutely brilliant. I've been using them to level up my painting. And they really have. They genuinely have leveled up what I've been doing. So I would recommend them. Before we continue, this camera, the second camera over here, is about to run out of battery. So I'm going to swap the battery for the second battery. If you're watching on Twitch, by the way, the message is automated, but I'll say it myself. Just gotta pay to keep the lights on with an ad break. See you in 30 seconds, my nerd. If you have an Amazon Prime subscription, consider subscribing to avoid. So, you know, it's free to do. Cost nothing. If you got Prime, why not use it on a new upstart channel? There we go. Let's get let's do some camo pattern, shall we? In fact, before we do the camo pattern, let's just cancel everything that's going on right now, like all of the cameras and stuff, and actually get this so it's dead center in the middle for you, zoomed in. Because this is going to be fiddly. There we go. Which means that I'll have to try and do it from a static direction. There we go. Right, let's get this, and then I'll try and build some lines on it. From what I can see, it's just lots of lines, sometimes with a bit of a zigzag on the German camo pattern of the era. So just do some random little lines in green. Like that. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. As far as squiggly lines go. And then I will shift the focus from my other camera and we'll do this one. Yeah, if anyone is interested, Konflikt 47 models, you know, I know I've kitbashed today, but they are brilliant. They have loads of detail. They're well made. They're from a leading historical manufacturer, so they know what they're doing with plastic. And the resin stuff, well, that was, until recently, that's their main form of miniature, and those are also really brilliant because, you know, they're experts. So if you're interested and you think, you know, some of these miniatures that you see today tickle one's pickle, shall we say, give it a go. Just buy like a character or something and see if you enjoy painting it. I've quite enjoyed the change in direction of having to research some, you know, historical color schemes. At the same time, you sometimes just randomly get odd, interesting facts about the World War while you're doing it as well. Because, you know, you end up on those historical like channels looking at things, trying to understand, oh, should I be doing this in this camo pattern or not? Just so it looks in keeping. Yeah, it's been quite interesting so far. So that's the first colour on the colour pattern. What I'll do now is we'll go straight in with the next colour. So next colour is going to be Bugman's Close. This is weirdly a colour that, until doing this camo pattern, I don't think I've touched, because I just feel like it's such a desaturated pink. It doesn't really look like skin to me, like, ever. And I think that's what it's intended for, drunk person skin. It doesn't read that to me, and I'd rather use just a bit of red mixed in. Or the Ginneman flesh on the cheeks is another way of bringing a bit of colour to someone's face when you're doing a miniature. But today we're going to use Bugman's Glue, and we're going to use it for the camo pattern. So as you can see at the moment, the tank's camo pattern is done, but we're trying to match these on the helmet. So by matching it, what we're going to do is use the same colour. So this one next. So it's the third and final colour on the helmets. Just going to very quickly get a bit of footage of me putting it on the palette on my normal camera for when the YouTube content is released as an edited video. So if you are watching on YouTube, don't worry. If you don't have the patience to sit, you don't want to sit here watching in live time, you're more of a, I guess, a montage person, there will be an edited down version. I won't be offended if you don't want to hang out, but equally happy if you do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you get to see the videos. There's loads of edited content on my channel. Whee! So always, a subscription is free to do, so why not give me a shot, yo? I promise I don't say yo very often. Right, let's get the... Yep, that's my shot on this one and on that one. So let's do some camo pattern, shall we? So it's just random lines again in slightly different directions to build up. It isn't actually anywhere near as difficult as you'd think doing a camo pattern. You just have to have a little bit of patience. And make sure that you always start going in different directions from time to time. So right now, for example, I've gone in quite a lot of the same direction. So rotating the model just so it's a lot easier to go in a different direction. It's just about essentially moving the model around, making sure that you're getting every single spot, relatively even coverage for the camo pattern you're doing. But just have fun with it. It's not a strict thing. Most of the camo patterns were sprayed on with paint or markers in this time of war. So, you know, if you want to do a historical like pattern, doesn't take much. See, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Now we're going to move on to the other guy. It's the other guy, yeah, who's at the front here. And we're also probably going to reprise some of these colours that we used. Because if I look at my source material, which is sitting next to me, so here, it looks like this is the jacket in that picture, and it's also in a camo pattern. There we go. 2 camo pattern helmets. Not just good, but good enough. I think they're good enough anyway. I'm happy with those. Now, as I said, let's go and paint some camo pattern on the jacket. Now, I think this needs to be painted firstly in Xandri dust. So I'm just going to quickly show it to the camera that I've got over there so that I know what I'm doing. But I'm going to go over... I'm going to go over the jacket that this guy's wearing up front. Just got some paint on my hand by leaning on my cleaning area. Because it starts about here-ish. Might as well. If I've got the resources, why not, you know? Of course, I will be washing these next. Try and bring out a bit more definition and add a bit of weathering to the whole look of the piece. Oh, I got a bit far on that one. Oh, actually, it's a different arm by the looks of it on this side. Oh dear. I didn't notice that when I first put it together. I reckon we can budget. I reckon we can budget. Let's put this green back. Or try and pull off the colour I just added. Where the wrist is. Xandri dust is actually a very thin paint in my bottle, so... As long as I can re-moisten, yep, the paint's on the palette, I should be able to redo the wrist section. Yep, that worked. So there we go, we've got a top layer colour, and a bottom layer colour now. There we go. I don't know why that message is like that. I'm just going to quickly go on to my stream elements and just quickly change it. 'Cause for some reason there's something on there that shouldn't be. Chat commands. Stream element. I don't know why. It says something else. Don't let ads block the view. That is different. This one is just gotta. I don't actually know where that is. Very weird indeed. Just muting the chat that keeps pinging off. So yeah, I hope everyone's having a great Wednesday. A fine Wednesday. Now I'm going to use my standard one for So, firstly, I always use this colour. So every army I've ever done has always had the same hair colour. Quite funny, really. But Onyx Skin is my favourite hair colour because I just don't find using it. It's a nice natural colour, but I clearly don't use it on anything else. So it feels like it adds a little bit of separation on the colours that I'm using on my piece. Because, you know, it's always a warm tone that I use normally. It's a nice brown, but it's not a brown that I use for anything else, so it works nicely for hair. Make it stand out a little bit. And there isn't normally much hair on these models anyway. I'm sorry, I'm slightly out of shot for you. I need to get really close to this. Anyway. I'll come over now. There we go. You can see there's just a tiny bit of hair sticking out. So it's barely noticeable, but it needs to read as a different colour. Another thing to note here is, so the Germans I've used are actually from Wargames Atlantic today. Which was a bit of a treat when I went to Firestorm Games in Cardiff the other day. I spotted them, so I always look at them on the Bitrix website, but the problem is their postage is a bit rubbish. At least I think it's a bit rubbish. So I don't want to pay for the postage, so I've been waiting for an opportunity like this to go and buy look, I just noticed that this is looking way better. Yes. Yeah, so yeah, I don't want to pay for the postage for an entire order from Vitrix, because it's the only thing I wanted to buy from them, because, you know, I've got a lot of historical stuff, I've used enough, I probably don't need to buy any more for another friggin' 100 years or something. I've got enough to last me. Because I only use it on odd, like, D&D miniatures, and I've already got a fair few sets from them. So I didn't want to pay for the postage from them, and not many places stock them, really, like the Germans. They don't tend to have them in stock whenever I've checked. That's a ridiculous amount of paint again for what is meant to be a tiny amount. So yeah, instead, when I went to Firestorm, I didn't get any footage of what it is, or putting it in a palette. Yeah, when I went to Firestorm the other day, I went, oh, I wonder if they got them. And I had a search, and they had one set, so I went, oh, sod it, get them quick. Make the most of it, you know? So I did. Yeah. Now I've got these really wonderful sculpts of World War II Germans to use for Konflikt 47. And I prefer them to the Warlord Games ones because they're a little bit more realistically scaled. Also, Vitrix, you know, they are wonderful at plastics and have been since they started up, so it's also nice to support a small company. Gives a bit of a good old feel-good factor when you buy from them. I really need to reposition this camera, don't I? There. Sorry about that. There we go. That's strap grey on that one. I don't think there's actually... Yeah, there's none on the other one. The other one needs camo pattern done. This guy on the front needs his camo pattern. So, I'll grapple it like this. And I'll just use, firstly, the most obvious paint, which is Bugman's Glow. Just do lots of random lines. Yeah, camo pattern is actually way easier than people make it out to be. It just takes a little bit of time. Especially if you're just doing like the wash method that I do. So you just layer on a few random lines, especially if it's the German style. No real pattern to it. Just try and, you know, draw some lines in different colours on top of each other. And you're golden, really. We're also going to do, no, we've done that one, we're going to do army green. Lots and lots of careful brush strokes. That's all it is. It doesn't matter how wide or thin or thick they are. As long as they're random, that's what matters. There we go. So there you go, camo pattern. Didn't take very long, did it? So next up, we're going to go back to using some strap grey, and that's just for the helmet straps. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit a subscribe button. It's not just streaming, I also do a large number of edited content. This video, in fact, will be edited down into a YouTube video, so if you hit that subscribe button, you'll be notified when the cut down version is available on YouTube. Which includes the kit bashing as well, because this isn't just a model. This is a crazy naked head model. There you go. Feminist, beat your heart out on that one, eh? Nice. Okay. That's all their base coat's done. Should we just pop back to the base for a little bit? So we'll zoom out. Actually, no, we'll keep it zoomed in. Because we're probably going to end up working on this guy first. This poor, intrepid soldier who's been lost to the wars. Look at him. Gouge in his chest. I think it's pretty powerful, that. It looks pretty gruesome. So we're going to do some real quick highlights all over using the same colours again. Nothing too crazy. Because as I said earlier, I'm going to end up covering most of it with dry brushing of dirt. So it would genuinely be a waste of time and effort to put too much into highlighting this guy. But we'll do some. We'll do some. And I'll just try and basically do scratchy highlights all over the miniature. Trying to bring out random areas, making them pop a little bit. But if anyone's been working on anything themselves, make sure you check out our Discord. If you're on Twitch, you can use the !social. It'll send you a link. If you're not on Twitch, it might be worth popping over just so you can use that. If not, drop me a message on the chat and I'm happy to put a link in. So you can go and check it out. Happy to share work in progresses that people are working on. I do love to see what everyone's working on because it's nice to see variety in what people are doing, whether it's Warhammer or Konflikt 47 or Trench Crusade. I'm interested in it all. My content and my painting is quite diverse, so, you know, I'm not stuck to one thing. But most importantly, if you're watching, how are you today? What's your highlight of the day been? Would you want today to be repeated? In an alternative reality, would you want to be stuck in Groundhog Day for today? Has it been that good? That good of a Wednesday? It's a weird day, Wednesday, really, isn't it? It's the weirdest of days. It's kind of like, nor here nor there. And yet, it is a day. Now I'm just talking complete shit. There we go. Nothing else than that is needed for edge highlighting on a base. That is absolutely fine. Because we're about now to cover most of it up anyway with our favourite, I mean my favourite bit of the painting process. At least I think we are. It might be we now swap back. Actually, very briefly, before we do dry brushing, because these guys need washing, and that's going to take a while to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush afterwards. Firstly, I'll go over all of the flesh with the colour known as Guilliman flesh. Actually, it might be worth. I've missed off a highlight. I've missed off a highlight, people. I'm a little bit over the place. I'm trying to get this done. Let's just Use some scratchy highlights on the hands. Okay. Well, apparently the camera's overheated, which is a first. Or if this one's saying high temperature. No, that one's fine. Weird. Just gonna check the settings on this thing, because this is actually a newer camera. And on the other one, I've set it so that the temperature is actually set too high. There we go. Sorted. I don't actually know if it recorded that. Probably not. Let's just repeat doing that, like a bit of a prop. There you go, that'll do. Is anybody in chat right now? I can't tell the new software, unlike the old one. So I just blatantly want to ask. Is anybody about? Just curious. If not, it's all good. Just painting. One way or the other, this will turn into YouTube content that hopefully do well. Hopefully. Being the key word there. Because the YouTube algorithm's been a bit fickle as of late. It's rather difficult to predict these things. For new content creation, it's not great that you keep changing the YouTube algorithm. Because someday, you should have seen if you are a subscriber, which you should be, because it's free to do. But I was getting views in the thousands at one point, and then all of a sudden it just dropped off out of the blue, back to 200 views in like a few weeks, and it's like, well, something's clearly changed. I'm still making the same content, the same level of quality, but for some reason, it's not being pushed to anyone. Which is a shame, really, because I do pride myself in the videos that I've made. And I would like people to see them. But hey ho. It's all about patience, isn't it? Hopefully in a few years' time I can repeat this video, which I'm recording right now, and say, Listen to me back then. 0 watchers. Look at me now. I hope. That's the dream. There we go. We've painted the hands. We've just got the face to go on this one. It's like effortless skin, this stuff. Kingdom Flash. Would recommend it. Basically, if there's a natural surface or texture you're trying to achieve, I would recommend contrast paints every day of the week. They're just so much easier. Now, dark tone. I think we have, yeah, we've got enough left over from earlier. So, I can just cover these models. Carefully, of course, I'm not being slapdash. And don't forget, why do I use dark tone? Is it because of shading? No, it's because weathering. You can use this stuff to make everything just look a bit grimier. Which is exactly what I'm aiming for right now. If you're on Twitch, why not consider giving me a follow or a Prime sub? It's free to do, and it means you don't have to deal with the adverts. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It's free to do. You can use the membership thing, but honestly, Patreon is more widely used by me. But I'm open to all variants of support. There we go. Washed. Look at him. Get in. Right, I'm actually need to get a little bit more dark tone out, which is unusual, seeing how much was in there originally. There we go. Nice. They are like 90% of the way there now. Look at them. So the tank, the funny thing is here, there's clearly a snapped off weapon. I just don't care. That's fine. The tank is basically better than some weathering maybe, which is good. So what I'm going to do now, whilst those washes dry, is we're going to basically zoom out. And this is clearly going to need some dry brushing. So this should hopefully highlight all of those contours I put in. You can't really see them because it's so dark. I can see a bit of cork in there. That sneaky bit of cork. Let's try and get some wash in there at least. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, whilst let's just have a quick paint break, you know. So we've got some other stuff. Just got some other stuff that we can do. So I think let's first thing I'm going to go back to the Konflikt 47 page. I think there's nothing else to go on there. So it might be worth looking at Warhammer Community, because I know there's a load of new stuff which is coming out, and I'm rather interested in this thing here. Because apparently the orcs are going to get a codex. I'm still not sure how I feel about these new like soft covers. They look a little bit cheaper in general, but I do of course know that, you know, the hard covers were falling apart a bit, shall we say. So it might be worth it in the long run. It might be that the soft covers actually last a bit longer than the hard covers, so yeah, maybe that's good. But I'm quite happy because, so for October, you might see behind me there's a few orc planes that I did the other year. I think it was last year. And I'm actually going to be doing a orc stomper based on the hunt of a boat over the next October session. So it's kind of it's my jam to you know, to look at this new orc book and work out how I can actually run what I've got, because I know that in the last edition all the flyers were basically absolute dog shite and useless to any single army. So it'd be interesting to see if they get a bit of buff on their flyers so that what I've got in my army is actually useful or not. Like detachment, there's a flyer there, so maybe they got any chat about a flyer? No. You said the picture though. Maybe there's hope. There is a stomper in the picture as well, but once again, not actually mentioned. Which seems a little bit crazy, you know? So yeah, who knows? Maybe it'll be alright, maybe it won't. We'll have to find out the long way. Anyway, I digress. Game. I think it'll be worth now moving on to the dry brushing. Also wondering. There you go. I've got 2 talkers now. Yeah, I wonder if they'll give a bit of a buff to the orcs. It'd be good if they did, because they've just been just a bit meh. Whoa, just realised that I was sharing. I was like, look at this. Doctor Who effect. So yeah, let's go back to down cam then. Whoops. So I'm going to go back to doing this base again. Let's just dry brush next. So hopefully bring out all of those contours that I've molded in. We've got some real tall points around one side, which I could do with updating, I guess. It's just a bit, I'm just a bit dubious because I don't want to, of course, start all of that process and then maybe have issues later on. Because I know that there's a little bit of wet, but I think I'm going to have to take the plunge, otherwise I'm going to be sat here slapping my gums. I don't want to be slapping my gums, do I? So today we're going to use mud splatter, which is this lovely paint here. So this is the paint that I would recommend if you want to, fun enough, do mud splatter. Simply, mud splatter, use mud splatter. But all I'm going to do here is just chuck a load on the dry palette next to me. Then I'm going to grab, I think this is coarse for the big brush, which I've not actually used yet. So most of it will do that. And then we'll also use the little brush for the miniature section where there is the soldier on the ground. And I'm going to try using the kitchen roll method today to make sure that I do a light dry brush. We don't go too heavy. Which I think will work. The sun, you just got to real lightly brush it on. And what you can see now is because this area is more recessed, it's not being picked up by the lighter brown, which means that it looks more clear on camera, and therefore when I take photos and videography, you're going to be able to see all those recesses, which is exactly what we're aiming for here. So it's really obvious that this is where the tanks and legs have just basically sunken down into the mud. And if you get too much, you can just use your finger to sort of wipe it off. Look at that, and that's really obvious where the feet are going to sit, isn't it? One there, one there, one there, one there, and then one in here. Brilliant. That's exactly what I need. Now I'm going to swap over from the massive brush. It's just a bit excessive for going over the crumpled chap at the end. Just roughly clean it out. And then I'm going to use this smaller brush. And once again, dry brush. But this time I'm going to do a lot more targeted dry brushing. Because we want to basically make sure that we hit all of the edges that go around this guy. A bit more heavy than, say, there's a ripple, a few ripples that I put in. I want to make sure I hit the ripples. So you can tell that he's been pushed back into that mud. I'm going to do a few muddy sections as uniform, make his gun a little bit muddy, make him a little bit muddy, especially where his hand is clearly like embedded. Like that. There he is. That is, I know it's currently shiny, but looking at it from an angle where you can't see the shine, that base is very cool. I'm very happy with how that's turned out. So if you're just joining, I'll just quickly show you what this base is for. It's a thing of nightmares, that's what it's for. So one leg goes inside the guy at the front. It goes like this. Wait, let me just focus. There we go. So that goes inside him. It's got like a hole drilled. And then goes like that. Quite proud of how this one's coming out. If you're interested, there will be a fully edited video eventually. So yeah, stay tuned. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It is important. It does help the channel out massively. I don't actually know if there is a subscribe button on live. Yeah. That's what he's looking like so far. If you're tuning in on Twitch, hit me a follow. It's free to do, helps the channel out. This is the walker that I've been working on for the last couple of streams for Konflikt 47. So I'm just going to probably skip back to the machine itself now. So earlier I painted up these miniatures sitting on top. So we've got the got some camo pattern on the helmets, camo pattern on some of the jacket as well. And these guys were stuck in after the rest of the model was painted. So there's probably some odd bits, like I can see like I've missed a tiny bit. I'm just going to do some touch-ups quickly. So for the skin, it's painted in like a fair skin color. And then I just put Gentleman Flesh over the top to add a little bit of warmth. I love this effect you can get with like minimal effort. It just looks like skin, if you know what I mean. It's a very, very gratifying process. That particular contrast paint. So I don't think I'm going to go crazy on the highlights on them for reasons. But before I even do that anyway, there's a messy step that I want to try, and that is to add an extra bit of weathering to this piece, because at the moment it's kind of inconsistent. So there's a load of weathering at the back here that I've done. I've added lots of oil to the pistons, so you've got moist pistons. Hello there. But overall, if you turn it upside down, there's nothing to it. And funnily enough, seeing that we have all of the mud effects out at the moment, and the guy, you know, he's scraping along mud really, isn't he? That is what this character is doing. It would be a shame to not add a load of mud as the weathering effect. So I'm just going to quickly adjust my secondary YouTube camera over here. And then we can make a start. Got loads of paint on the palette still from doing all the weathering on the base. And instead of properly dry brushing, what I'm going to do first is just stipple it like this all over. Of course, a good idea to paint the ends that are, of course, going into the mud. That makes sense. It might actually be worth taking some of this darker colour off of my palette as well. So this is the colour I use for the base, the main colour. We'll just dry brush some of that on there as well. Adding that colour depth that we've got on the base itself now. Seems a shame as well, because there's loads on the palette still, so it'd be a waste to not use it, wouldn't it? Yeah, has anyone been checking out Konflikt 47? Been tempted by Konflikt 47, should I say? I certainly was. I'm in the mix of doing both an Axis and a British Commonwealth army to try and convince others around the area to play. There we go. That is how you weather really easily. And now the key is to take some of those colours and just dry brush all over a little bit. Not massively, just lightly. Because everything should have been affected by this dirt and grime, including the people. Imagine they're having it blown up in their face whilst they march forward for the Reich, or whatever they've decided to call it in Konflikt 47. Okay. That's added a level of realism again. Look at that. That's a lot better. Very happy with that. So, of course, there is the need to do some edge highlighting on these on these chaps, shall we say. These fine German soldier chaps. So let's pull forward the palette I used earlier, where all the colours are. There's no need to get out fresh colours. We've already got loads of them all saved up on this wet palette. Just add a little bit of moisture to them here and there, I guess. So we're going to start off with this green. Oh, actually, this one's running low. So this is medium drab. It's actually one of the Army Painters historical range. I've been using them for everything under the sun, like historical or not. They have been brilliant colours to add because they're just loads of desaturated greens and canvases, which otherwise are really missing from most of the ranges that I've seen, unless you want to go with like Humbrol or something majorly based on historicals. I'm just going to do some scratchy highlights, trying to get a little bit of edge definition here and there. Nothing too crazy, it's very much going to be a fast process. We don't want to be fanning around with this too much. Next up, let's use some of these camo colours. So I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the helmets are painted in camo pattern. World War II late camo pattern, I'll have you know. It's not too bad to do, actually. It's just literally drawing loads of lines. That's all you have to do. Random lines in random directions on the surface. It's actually harder right now because I've covered up a lot of it with dirt. I'm trying to pull some of them back through. I've also done it on his jacket as well. So just pull up some of those edges. Well, yeah, if anyone's been working on anything, let us know in the chat. It's good to know. And there's also a Discord, so if you're on Twitch, you can go !social. You'll get a link to the Discord server. Chuck in your pictures in there. There's loads of labelled areas to put various types of work in progress, whether it's 2D art, whether it's cosplay, model making, you name it. Well, I'm interested. I love anything like that. Next up, we're going to use some of the green. Some of these nice highlights in. Yeah, Konflikt 47. I'm doing two armies at the moment. I'm doing this, and I'm doing the British. Trying to basically make two armies so that I can convince a few friends to give it a go. Maybe they'll get addicted and then make an army of their own. Maybe they won't, maybe they will. Hopefully they do. I'm taking the risk, or losing the chance. think that's pretty good for highlighting on those, to be honest. I might just quickly use a bit of Xandri dust. If it's... yeah, I'll have to put a fresh amount down. Because the third and final colour, which is technically the undercolour, so I've done it kind of backwards. Bit of Xandri dust. Which is the same as the tank. I've tried to match the tank's colours as well. It's basically a late camo pattern used by the German army in World War II. Sorry, concentration phase is currently activated. Concentration phase activated. But we'll be more talkative in a second. This is at the point I'm happy. I think I'm almost there. I just need to do this last little bit on here. Lovely. And then, next thing is pearl skin to highlight the high points. I always say that. Highlight the high points. I'm saying the same word twice in two contexts. Yeah, I'm just gonna basically make the hand details stand out a bit more. Hope you're all having a wonderful week. Make sure you drop a message in chat to say what you've been up to. How's work going? How's school going? Whatever you're doing. Let me know. There we go. Do we think it's at the point to attach it to the base? I think it might be, you know. We're going to have a moment where we're going to have to glue it, wait for the glue to set, and then paint around the glue again. Well, I think we might be there, you know. So, let's get out the super glue and the activator. And finally, attach this. I wonder which way around it's better to do it. It's probably better to put some glue on the feet. Go straight in there with this guy. There we go. Give it a quick spray. What's probably worth it as well is, look at that, glued in, is building up a little bit of the super glue around it. And all of these contact points. Apart from this one, which I think is just stuck in there. That's a socket. And then, if I just put a tiny, tiny wee bit of sand on top. Then we can paint the sand in instead of the super glue to add a bit of texture. That would be a lot better than trying to paint a very smooth surface. So there we go. He's attached and with texture on those surfaces now. So what I can do is I pull it up here. And then just add a bit of this Rhinox hide colour. And then probably a little bit of the, just dab in some of this mud splatter as well. There we go. He has blended well there. Now we've got to blend him well over here, which is a bit more extreme. So let's get some right outside again. Get that in there. And equally get a little bit of this mud splatter and kind of blend it in a little bit. Then when that dries, that should blend nicely with the rest of the model. Now we've got a bit of a different challenge over here. And that's because clearly it's not mud on this leg, it's blood. So I'm gonna grab the detail brush. Get a bit of True Blood. We'll start off with True Blood. I might add a bit of Blood for the Blood God later, but True Blood is a lot more vibrant, shall we say. So I'm just gonna pile that in there first. I'm going to just, can't really see it unfortunately because of where the camera is right now, so I'm just going to move it over. So I need to go up the leg next. So of course that's going to be a bit higher. I'm just going to do little like drip marks. One detail I definitely want to do, if I can get the camera angle perfect, that'd be great. Yeah, you can't quite see it. I'll show you after I've done it, because it's going to be very difficult to get on 2 cameras. Well, it's very difficult to get 1 camera, let alone 2. I really want a tear of blood. Look at that. Gruesome. Let's zoom out a little bit. Not that much. Jeez. Jeez, jeez, jeez. Jeez Louise. Look at this. Make sure I get all of the little hairs off from that dry brush. feel like something's still missing from it, but I can't put place what. What do we reckon, chat? What is missing from this mighty fine beastie? Let's put it onto the plinth. Other than, you know, the old obvious, like, the edge rim needs doing, of course, on it. I don't know, it feels like there's a little something missing still. What are your thoughts? Let me know. It feels like maybe there needs to be some kind of, doesn't mean metallic fleck maybe on the armor, or maybe some black. I could dry brush some black on it. I could work, or some dark grey. That might be what's missing. It might be it's just too vibrant still in some areas. Or it could just be me being super picky and just need to paint the base rim. Which would be pretty good. And then we'd do a second half of the stream at 8, I guess. We could do that. I could finish up that model now. I don't know. I mean, there is one method I've seen, which I could try. Actually, there is one method. But it looks like the shadows aren't deep enough. If you get my drift, it all looks a bit flat still. But I think there's a way around that. I don't know if anybody's heard of this method, but what you do is you kind of pin wash. But you pin wash using speed paint instead. So Grim Black speed paint is a very good way to pin wash in all of the recess to get that extra oomph. So I'm just going to make a small mixture of a bit Grim Black and then some speed paint medium. I think that'll help. Speed paint is the worst flavored paint, just so you know. Don't go licking it like I do. Disgusting. Disgusting. Yeah. I'm just gonna do a wide angle for this, I think. I don't have to worry too much. Let's start with like the panels at the top. Just slowly go around. We're going to panel line everything. Yeah, I think this is what's missing. Because, of course, I did all the weathering effects for the wash. I didn't actually do any shading. So we've also got, of course, these characters in here now, which probably could do with a bit of the black barrier. Nice outlines. Look at those. That's it. That's what's missing, everyone. Just pin washing it if you're just joining stream all the way around every panel. Add a bit of definition to everything. You can tell that that top's been pin washed and the rest hasn't. Yeah, it's just adding that little bit of extra je ne sais quoi, bit of oomph. If you just join the chat, let me know if you haven't been working on anything this week. Any models, any crochet, cross stitch, cosplay, historical models, wargame models, Warhammer, Konflikt 7, Trench Crusade. You name it, let's hear about it. It's amazing how much difference this simple outlining effect has done already. It's clearly what's missing. a little bit up here, I think. Yeah, that's the bit that's missing, isn't it? It's the panel lining. Lovely. So if you're joining stream now and you're used to seeing me on Friday, it's because I will not be about this Friday, but I didn't want to miss out because I'm trying to finish this model. I don't want to miss out on you guys. So, so make sure you post a comment and let me know you're there. I'll say what you've been working on. lots and lots of pin washing, but it is coming together now. You can see the textures and stuff that I think was missing for. Adds that just little something, you know. So yeah, Konflikt 47. I'm doing 2 armies at the moment. I've managed to paint the Axis Totem Corp, which are the zombie style miniatures for the game. And I painted this, and I've also kitbashed some Stauentruppen using nothing other than some styrene. There's a video on YouTube on how I did that one, which is not the normal approach. I'm trying to kitbash as much as possible for this very affordable game. But it is still using wall plastic, so you know. What does everyone think of the model so far then? Any tips, tricks, or hints of what you think I should do? You're looking at it probably more than I am, to be honest, because you're looking at it through a screen, which is always quite different. Welcome to chat, you're just joining. I am painting a spider-legged tiger tank for the game Konflikt 47, which is an alternative semi-historical, semi-sci-fi war game where World War II didn't end, and everyone discovered a thing called rift technology. They also basically got power weapons. Okay, just pin washing Grim Black into areas where one surface meets another. Add a bit of extra definition. Kind of like a wash, kind of, but not quite. What does everyone think so far? Getting there? I'm half tempted just to call it and put a nice rim color on it now. Like, this all needs a bit of a clean up, doesn't it? Let's do a bit of a clean up as a break. Yeah, let me know if you are working on anything at the moment, not working on anything this week. How's your week going? Mine's been okay so far. Unfortunately, I'm having to take the next 2 days off of work because I have to attend a family funeral. Not great, but you know, such is life, unfortunately. Yeah, this is all Mod Podge. Overspill. Yeah, unfortunately, the funeral is an incredibly long way away, so I have to drive down tomorrow for a Friday funeral, which is fine. But it's a case of, at the moment, it's a holiday destination, so I'm driving towards the coast in summer holiday season at the end of a week. So we're going down a day earlier than the proper end of the week. And whilst down there, it's actually the place where Hornby and Airfix originated. So the original Hornby factory is down there. You can go and visit. They've got like a museum called the Wonderworks. So attached to it, they've got a shop. And I normally go there and try and find the bargs. noise discontinued products that might be applicable to the wargaming scene. Although I believe they might have bought a share of Warlord Games, maybe, since last time I was down. So they might have some actual wargaming stuff in there for me to look at. Should be exciting. Yeah, trying to make a little bit of positive to what's otherwise quite a negative thing, really. Yeah, it's great. This is going really well so far, I'd say. I honestly feel like it might be time just to put the base rim colour on. There we go. Nice and cleaned rim. Now the real question is, I guess I hold the model with this one and then paint the rim and then pop it on top of something like my water cup to dry. I guess that could work. So I'll paint it, and I've just put the I've put the water cup on top of the turntable. So after what's it called? After the after the base rim is completed, what I can essentially do is place it on there. Sorry, I'm very tired now. Didn't sleep well at all last night. I feel like the British weather at the moment, it's just not up to much, is it? It's just not up to much. And it's also really warm in this room because, you know, gaming PC being super, super hot. So yeah, let's get this base rim completely painted up. Let's see how it goes, yeah? So this is actually quite a new paint, so hopefully it's nice and thin for base rimming. One day someone big might actually raid me. One day. Who's watching who raids who? It's interesting. If you're just joining the stream now, I'm currently painting a kitbashed tiger tank with spider legs for the game Konflikt 47. He's got like an impaled British soldier underfoot and two, well, one lookout and one gunner, along with the rest of the hidden crew, of course, inside. I hope you're having a lovely week. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. You made it. You got past that big kicker. It's less time now before the weekend. Unfortunately, it does start all again on Monday. But, you know, small victories and all that. And I'll tell you what, I would recommend checking out Konflikt 47 as a game system. It's quite innovative. It's an interesting mix between historical and science fiction, so it kind of itches both things if you have been historical curious, should I say. I know I certainly was historical curious, that's why I decided to do Konflikt 47 and some Silver Bayonet. Because, you know, I don't want to do a big old rank and flank game. That's not really my jam. Not jam at all, in fact. But I would like to paint some stuff that, you know, lives in the realms of reality, shall we say. Partly because you then have some source material to try and interpret the best version that you can manage of that look. Which is always interesting, you know, trying to make sure that you can duplicate a historical colour scheme. Best of your ability. Also, it's a bit of a chance to learn a little bit about history at the same time. I know there's a lot of alt history mixed in, but when you're looking for the uniform colours, you learn odd things. Sometimes you go down rabbit holes and just start watching historical YouTube, in fact. Like Finn versus History, which is hilarious. Hilarious. And there's a great Napoleonic one called Red Coat History. Well, there's more than just Napoleonic, but that was the one that got me into the channel. Feel like that. Actually, I washed my brush out before I put the. I better wash the brush out before I put the tank on top of it. Adjust it up so you can see it. I'm going to talk to Cam. Look at that. That's a pretty cool shot of it, actually. Isn't that good? Let's just move it back a little bit so it's in focus a bit better. So there we go. Oh, I might have some finishing touches to do, but overall, the core, the absolute core of the tank is in fact done. So people, what are we doing today? What is everyone up to? Come on. Post a comment, let me know. Is everyone having a good time? I hope you're having a good time. I'm definitely enjoyed this stream. I think we're gonna have to call it there for a little bit, you know. I might come back later and do some of that robo gear. I've got loads of robo gear to build, but essentially, until next time, I'll see you later, my nerds.